Imagine the scene, a hushed crowd, the flash of cameras, the weight of centuries pressing down on young shoulders. It's an image we've seen countless times. Prince George, dutifully beside his parents, a picture of royal composure. But what happens when that composure cracks? What happens when the future king, the boy seemingly born to silence, finds his voice? The reverberations, as we're about to discover, shake the very foundations of the House of Windsor. For years, the narrative surrounding Prince George has been carefully curated. He's the cherubic toddler waving from the balcony, the solemn page boy at royal weddings, the miniature version of Prince William at sporting events. Every appearance meticulously planned, every gesture scrutinized, every word unspoken. He was, in essence, a living doll, a symbol of continuity, a promise of a future reign steeped in tradition. But behind those bright, watchful eyes, a mind was forming, a conscience awakening. The question isn't whether Prince George would eventually speak, but what he would say and when. The royal family, more than perhaps any other institution, understands the power of silence. It's a shield, a buffer against the relentless scrutiny of the media and the often unrealistic expectations of the public. But silence can also be a prison, especially for a young mind grappling with the complexities of the world. The world wasn't ready for what happened next. It was at an event dedicated to environmental awareness, an issue close to the heart of both Prince William and King Charles III. The setting was idyllic, rolling green hills, a clear blue sky, a carefully orchestrated tableau of royal concern. William and Catherine, the Prince and Princess of Wales, were doing what they do best: charming, engaging, projecting an image of modern royalty. But then, something shifted. Young George, standing beside his father, stepped forward. The cameras clicked faster, the murmurs grew louder. He wasn't scheduled to speak. This was off script. He looked directly into the lenses, his gaze unwavering, and then he spoke. "If we don't take care of the earth," he asked, his voice clear and surprisingly strong, "who will?" The simplicity of the statement was its power. It wasn't a complex policy proposal or a fiery call to arms. It was a child's plea, a fundamental question that resonated with millions. In that moment, Prince George wasn't just a royal figurehead. He was a concerned citizen of the world. The reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Social media exploded with praise. Headlines screamed about a new royal voice. Environmental activists lauded his courage. Even hardened political commentators were taken aback by the impact of his words. He had, in a single sentence, achieved what countless speeches and campaigns had failed to do. He had cut through the noise and connected with people on a deeply human level. But not everyone was celebrating. Behind the palace walls, a debate was raging. Had George acted impulsively? Had he been coached? Was this a carefully calculated move orchestrated by his parents? The questions swirled, fueled by centuries of royal protocol and a deep-seated fear of anything that deviated from the established order. The delicate balance between tradition and modernity, between duty and individual expression, had been thrown into sharp relief. And at the center of it all was an 11-year-old boy who had dared to speak his mind. The genie was out of the bottle, and the royal family was now faced with a choice: embrace this new voice, or try to silence it once more. The future of the monarchy, it seemed, might just depend on the answer. The reverberations within the palace were less a polite tremor and more a full-blown earthquake. A frenzy of hushed phone calls, urgent meetings, and frantic consultations with PR gurus ensued. The old guard, steeped in tradition, saw George's impromptu statement as a dangerous breach of protocol, a reckless act that threatened to undermine the carefully constructed mystique of the monarchy. "He's just a child," one courtier reportedly sputtered. "He doesn't understand the implications." But William and Catherine, to their credit, appeared to be taking a more nuanced approach. They had, after all, instilled in George a sense of social responsibility, encouraged his curiosity about the world, and fostered an environment where he felt safe to express his opinions. To suddenly shut him down now would not only be hypocritical, but would also risk alienating him, potentially setting the stage for a future rebellion against the crown. The question then became how to manage the fallout, how to harness the positive energy generated by George's statement without allowing it to spiral out of control, how to ensure that he remained grounded and focused on his education while also acknowledging his growing influence. The answer, it seemed, lay in carefully curated engagement. Rather than silencing George, William and Catherine decided to provide him with opportunities to learn more about environmental issues, to meet with scientists and activists, and to participate in carefully selected events that aligned with his interests. It was a delicate balancing act, a tightrope walk between tradition and modernity. The next few months saw George making a series of carefully orchestrated appearances. He visited a wildlife sanctuary where he learned about endangered species and the importance of conservation. He met with a group of young climate activists who shared their concerns about the future of the planet. And he even planted a tree at a local school, a symbolic gesture that resonated with people of all ages. With each appearance, George grew more confident and articulate. He spoke with genuine passion about the need to protect the environment, and he inspired countless young people to take action in their own communities. He was, in many ways, becoming the face of a new generation of royals, a generation that was not afraid to speak its mind and to use its platform to make a difference. Of course, the critics remained. Some accused William and Catherine of exploiting their son for political gain, of using him as a pawn in their own environmental agenda. Others worried that George was being thrust into the spotlight too early, that he was being robbed of his childhood. But for the most part, the public embraced George's newfound voice. They saw in him a glimmer of hope, a sign that the monarchy was finally evolving to meet the challenges of the 21st century. He was, in their eyes, a breath of fresh air, a reminder that even the most ancient institutions can adapt and change with the times. The real test, however, was still to come. As George grew older, he would face increasing pressure to conform to the expectations of the monarchy. He would have to navigate the treacherous waters of royal politics to balance his personal beliefs with his public duties. The world was watching, waiting to see whether he would remain true to his convictions or whether he would eventually succumb to the weight of tradition. The future of the House of Windsor, it seemed, rested on the shoulders of a young boy who had dared to ask a simple question. If we don't take care of the earth, who will? The teen years, notoriously turbulent for commoners, proved a veritable minefield for a young royal navigating the expectations of a nation. George, now towering over his younger siblings, found himself increasingly scrutinized, his every action dissected under the harsh glare of the media. The environmental advocacy, once lauded, became a target. Critics, emboldened by the inherent conservatism of some corners of the British press, painted him as a naive do-gooder, a virtue signaler out of touch with the real concerns of the country. The pressure mounted. There were whispers of discontent within the palace, anxieties about his unconventional approach. The weight of history, the portraits of stoic monarchs lining the corridors, seemed to bear down on him, a constant reminder of the path he was expected to tread. But George, perhaps inheriting his mother's quiet steel and his father's unwavering sense of duty, refused to be cowed. He doubled down on his commitment, albeit with a newfound strategic awareness. He understood that direct confrontation would be futile, that he needed to work within the system to leverage his position to effect change. He began to focus on specific initiatives, lending his support to projects that promoted sustainable agriculture, renewable energy, and wildlife conservation. He used his platform to amplify the voices of young scientists and activists, to shine a light on the innovative solutions they were developing. His approach was subtle, nuanced, a far cry from the outspoken pronouncements of his younger years. But it was effective. He built alliances, garnered support from influential figures, and slowly, steadily began to shift the narrative. The turning point came during a Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting. World leaders gathered to discuss pressing global issues were largely ignoring the looming climate crisis. George, invited to deliver a brief address, spoke not of grand strategies or political maneuvering, but of the tangible impact of climate change on the lives of ordinary people. He told stories of communities ravaged by droughts, of farmers struggling to feed their families, of children displaced by rising sea levels. He spoke with empathy and conviction, his words resonating with leaders who had become desensitized to the abstract statistics and political rhetoric. His speech was a watershed moment. It galvanized action, prompting renewed commitments to climate goals and sparking a wave of international cooperation. George, once dismissed as a naive idealist, had proven himself to be a force to be reckoned with, a leader capable of inspiring change on a global scale. But perhaps the most significant impact of his advocacy was on the monarchy itself. By embracing a cause that resonated with the younger generation, he had breathed new life into an institution that was increasingly seen as out of touch. He had shown that the monarchy could be relevant, that it could play a vital role in addressing the challenges of the 21st century. The future, of course, remains uncertain. The road ahead will be fraught with obstacles and challenges. But one thing is clear. Prince George, the boy who once dared to ask a simple question, has emerged as a powerful voice for change, a leader who is determined to make a difference in the world. And in doing so, he may just redefine what it means to be a royal in the modern age.